In this video, we will be taking a journey through time in Italy, comparing two significant cultural institutions in their museography and museology: the Ducal Palace in Mantova and the National Gallery of Modern Art in Rome. Both represent institutions of culture and art and stand as pillars for Italian heritage. They dramatically present different eras relating to modernity, different purposes to their space, and artistic philosophies. While one speaks of courtly grandeur, lavish fresco chambers, and strong Renaissance power, the other displays experimentation, modernity, and novelty, and a new identity for Italy in the 20th century. Let's get into the stories of these drastically different worlds in museum history. The Ducal Palace, or Palazzo Ducale, was the seat of power for the Italian princely Gonzaga family in northern Italy from the 14th to 18th century. The Gonzaga Palace is probably the densest and most rich architectural example in all of the Italian lordships. The palace is a gem of the Renaissance and is a symbol of the aristocratic grandeur of the Gonzagas, projecting their rich power, refinement, and religious devotion. The palace is composed of complex, interconnected courtyards, gardens, and many different rooms which have been added throughout the timeline of their rule and brought up by different architects. Famous painters such as Mantegna, Pisanello, and Giulio Romano decorated the palace in decadent frescoes, all changing in style throughout the periods, but still representing the greatness of the Gonzagas. The space of the palace has evolved rather than being designed to be kept the same. The palace reflects an early stage of the evolution of museology, with the introduction of Isabella d'Este Studiolo within the palace as well as in her royal apartment. Wife of Francesco Gonzaga II, she was considered one of the most authoritative women from the Renaissance and forever changed the initial concept of Petrarch's Studiolo, which was to be a place to meditate and study in solitude. She transformed her studiolo to be a collection space for her curations of artistic interests and artifacts, to display her eclectic taste and to show off her intellect to important royal guests, using her space as propaganda to persuade those to be in favor of the Gonzaga family and their power, wealth, and refinement. The National Gallery of Modern Art, or Galleria Nazionale d'Arte Moderna e Contemporanea, located near Villa Borghese, was founded in 1883, soon after the unification of Italy. The gallery's monumental facade has a neoclassical design with 20th century interventions, making reference to Roman imperial architecture but integrating a modern twist with a more playful ornamentation and modernity. The interior is wide and open, providing neutral walls to display artwork and designed to create a dialogue between the curations. This gallery celebrates a different kind of power, a national and cultural ecstasy instead of a noble or sacerdotal reign. The gallery aims to celebrate Italian modernism in creating a space for new artistic voices in the art world in a post-unification era. It houses a tremendous art collection that bears witness to important artistic movements of the 19th century, housing masterpieces by Van Gogh, Klimt, Jackson Pollock, Giacomo Balla, Antonio Canova, and Monet, to name a few. From neoclassicism to impressionism, and from divisionism to the avant-gardes or experimental work of the early 20th century, the National Gallery of Modern Art is a guardian of the past, exhibiting classical art as well as projecting towards the future, welcoming artists from a more contemporary era and introducing progress to a post-war period. The gallery's motive is an ambitious and strategic objective to collect the best of national contemporary artistic production and maintain faith in the rise of the industrial evolution of art and machinery. Unquestionably, the Ducal Palace served as a royal residence for the Gonzaga family, a political center, and as a stage for their display of power and wealth. For example, looking at the Camera degli Sposi, the master painter Mantegna displays exemplary cultural credibility of the Gonzaga rule, depicting scenes of the family and their court, and displaying their impressive prestige through illusions and the grandiose of the room. The oculus in the ceiling of the room recalls the Pantheon and grants a theme of political celebration and an impressive perspective to the revelation of the room. In contrast, the National Gallery of Modern Art is a public institution with the role of charting the evolution of Italian and international contemporary art. The experimental rooms of the gallery are reimagined regularly, creating juxtapositions and playful narratives between works of art. We can see modern interference alongside artwork, such as screens and projections, and audio manipulation within the space. We can also see abstraction in the usual sense of how classical sculptural work is displayed, placing them in a more confrontational view, making it accessible to the viewer. This curation is bold and experimental, with the idea that art is not confined to a singular idea or purpose and that it can represent a multiplicity of voices. Aesthetically and philosophically, these two places embody completely different worldviews. The Ducal Palace represents a time under authoritative order, whether it be religious order, social order, or cosmic harmony. The palace was meant to ensure a balanced and perfect beauty, displaying the legacy of the Gonzaga family and their powerful court, with frescoes and tapestries following biblical and mythological narratives tied to the family, making it didactic in nature that their rule was divinely prophesied. The space was not meant to be seen by commoner eyes, and was an estate privileged to the few who were invited to marvel at the palace and its various rooms, especially to do business with the family trade. In contrast, the National Gallery celebrates the disruption of beauty and making it dissonant in nature. Modernism breaks the past and confronts the viewer with unsettling themes such as war, identity, industrialization, abstraction, and the manipulation of reality. The Time of Futurism exhibition focuses on the relationship between art and science and technology, creating a renewal of human moral sense, and questions how the mechanization of human life is creating a futurist movement. The exhibition highlights the concepts of speed, spatial distance, technological advancements, and embracing conflict and youth culture. This gallery was built for the public and reflects the idea that art belongs to everyone, and anyone can have access to the engagement and learning of art and history. The space invites a public discourse and engages in social issues that question our current reality. So what is the message? The National Gallery invites a sense of doubt, observation of the self, and criticism. Meanwhile, the Ducal Palace affirms a fixed worldview and reminds the viewer who reigns supreme when entering the space. In conclusion, placing the Ducal Palace in Mantova and the National Gallery of Modern Art in Rome side by side, we aren't simply comparing the buildings themselves, but putting in contrast their entire worldview shaped by time and purpose and what they each stand for philosophically. The Ducal Palace, with its various rooms covered in Renaissance frescoes, statues, and mirabilia, was built to awe, control, and legitimize the rule of the Gonzaga family, displaying their wealth and influence in society through beauty, symbolism, and religious authority. The art within the space is allegorical and deeply intentional to project the culture of time, piety, and royal reign. We see both connections to God and classical antiquity. The National Gallery of Modern Art embodies the spirit of modernity and unification, a public, democratic, and ever-evolving society. The space of the gallery is minimal and open, but not built to dominate over the people within. We see a shift from spaces that are meant to be interpreted one way to a gallery that is designed for contemplation and reinterpretation. The gallery reflects a wide spectrum of art movements, from futurism to surrealism, and challenging traditions rather than preserving them. The gallery doesn't pose a singular truth to its displays, and is open to the exploration of various interpretations. Despite their clear-cut differences, both these spaces serve a similar purpose at their very core. They are vessels of identity, history, and meaning. They both preserve the identity and ideas of their generation, and ultimately, they are not opposites, but brackets in the chapters of the ongoing story of Italian art, architecture, and its society. Each place is spectacular on its own for its distinct reasons, and through both, we see how space, art, and history shape the upbringing of their museology and museography, and how we, the public, interact to their opulence. Thank you for listening.